All right, let's call the meeting to order. I'm going to start with roll call.
Ms. Cooper Payton is excused. Ms. Harold is excused. Ms. Hedlund?
Present.
Mr. Jacobson?
Here.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Orchardson?
Present.
Mr. Patterson?
Here.
Ms. Salmon?
Here.
Ms. Snyder?
Here.
Okay. I don't believe there are any changes to the agenda, so the next thing will be approving the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'm sorry. Actually,
There are
the
the changes. Okay. Yeah.
hello. Sorry. Shasta Clever Matthews will not be presenting this month.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we're removing that from this month.
A and D.
Oh, and I'm sorry. So Jerry's not here either? Okay. Okay, so it's just the Gwen and Matt Jacqueline. Okay. Okay, well, we're going to start out then with, oh, we have to approve the minutes. Hang on. Okay, I hope everybody got a copy of the minutes from last meeting. And did anybody have any questions or comments? If not, I move that we approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, we've approved the minutes. Next, we're going to go to the grant presentation by Gwen Montgomery. Oh, is that on?
Do I need a mic? I could probably just project if that's. Okay. All right.
You might move it closer to your face, however.
Okay.
Just move it over a little bit.
Is that good?
There you go.
That's
Okay.
great.
All right. Let me pull this up and make sure that it's going here. And maybe we'll do the slideshow. I use a Mac, so this is a whole new world. This seems good. Security alert. Okay. And all right. Thank you. And I am presenting my, I received an Urbana Arts grant for National Mandate, which is an exhibition and multi-part project that I did. And the project started in 2015, and just to give you a little bit of background on it, I entered the gallery at the faculty exhibition in 2015 for a series of serial carving performances. I am there in a antebellum costume. It's sort of a balance of two genders. And in costume, I carved this giant wood block on the floor over a series of days. Took about a month total, leaving this text on the surface of the gallery floor. And each time I carved, the people were invited to come watch me. As I removed the pieces of material. Ultimately, after the piece was carved, I then recruited some helpers, some people who would also dress in costume and print these pieces. We moved the block from the gallery outside, and we rolled up this big wood block, essentially like a stamp, with a sticky material, a transparent base that you use sometimes in relief printing that acted kind of like glue. And there we are, rolling up the blocks and then printing. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because there's a video that hopefully will also shed some light on the process. And then we hand brayered or hand burnished these prints and coated them with a powdered gunpowder. It's a reenactment grade gunpowder that's usually used in Civil War reenactments. And it's called flocking when you do this. It's kind of like putting glitter on a sticky surface. So in this next image, here we are, pouring the residual gunpowder off and then putting the prints safely inside the building. It was quite windy that day, actually. So this is all background to receiving the grant. I wrote the grant and asked for it in part to be able to exhibit these pieces, because after making the gunpowder prints, I then ignited them, which left me with these really beautiful impressions of ash residue on the paper. And the text was quite visible, and I was really interested in seeing if I could continue the project and show it locally. I wanted to do another stage and a final step in the block carving that I did. So I received a grant in order to show primarily at the Urbana Independent Media Center, which I did. I also, through this grant, was able to show the piece in a couple of other places nationally. But the main goal was to show it locally and to invite a local crowd to be able to come see the finished pieces. The other thing that I used the grant money for and asked for it for was to take all this documentation that I had of the serial carving events, of everything that went into it, and make it into a video. And good Lord willing, let's see if this works. Maybe not. Well, that's okay. I'm quick on my feet here. We'll look at it here. Windows Media Player. Nice. Okay, so you are now seeing it's silent. During exhibitions, it's actually looped. I showed the piece at one place that projected this video on the back of one of the large-scale prints. So you get to see the process where I am carving. Clearly it's sped up, so you don't have to sit through that entire thing, because it took a little while. From carving all the way through to printing and then eventually burning it. So you would have seen this video continuously looping while the rest of the prints would be on display. The grant allowed me to pay a videographer who is quite a bit more talented at working with this kind of multimedia stuff than I am, to help me edit this footage, compile it, and create this sort of seamless video documentation. Okay, so that is what the video ended up looking like. And again, I was incredibly grateful to have the help and the financial help to acquire somebody who could help me with that. The next phase of the project was exhibiting at the IMC, and to do that I purchased some materials to allow me to hang these pieces. They're giant, they're about 4 foot by 6 feet, with what are called pop or snap rails, which is a banner hanging system. And the grant allowed me to afford those hanging systems, as well as get some of the other things I needed to purchase pay for some of the vinyl and some of the other small things that go into exhibiting this work. So this is, what you're looking at there is just the, Travis Hocutt made this nice little flyer. I also included in the packet with my final report the postcards that I had printed of the burning prints. That was also made possible by the grant. And this was the title wall for the show. And just a quick comment on the costume. I went into this in much more depth in my grant proposal and my even my final report, but there's a good deal of metaphorical significance to both the text, what it says, and to what I'm wearing. The text refers to what you're supposed to do during a active shooter situation. However, it reminded me of something that you might hear in the 18th century. It sounded very like a call to arms, very cavalry, even Civil War-like. And I wanted to make connections between what I felt were sometimes overlooked violent histories in our past, and connect them to current violence and situations that we're dealing with now. I also wanted to reconcile some of my own, my family members' viewpoints about gun control and gun sense legislation, where they are regionally, and their general political views with where I sit on that debate. So that was a way of addressing those things. And you can read more about it in the proposal as well. I won't go too deeply into it. This is what the exhibition at the UMIC looked like, or IUMC, excuse me. So I'm hanging these large banner pieces. I ended up with around 7 prints, and I only hung 3 of them were free hanging in the space, and the 4th one was the fabric print on the wall. Part of the reason I didn't hang them all, I chose to display one of each kind. So I displayed a one that was printed with unburnt gunpowder, a burnt one on fabric, and one that actually had carborundum grit as the flocking substance. So quickly moving through these. That's the fabric piece. And Travis shot some really nice video footage of the opening for me. However, I haven't edited it down yet, as I'm still learning to do some of that. So this is after the opening, but during the opening I actually had a performance where I had another friend come in, and again we did another carving performance. We eliminated the block, so we removed the rest of the text so that there is no longer anything that could be printed as a gesture of finality and hope that this is something that could be done away with instead of something. Printmaking is meant to be multiple, it's meant to be repeated, so I wanted to say that this was no longer something that I wanted to see repeated. So what you're seeing there is the blank block that is now clear. And in this picture, real quick, I'll point out that the video was looping on that side wall over there, and that's where you would have seen the digital video. And that's what the block looks like with the text removed, but still showing all the carving marks. After this, I was able and asked to display this in a couple of other places. One, I showed it in Omaha. Most recently, I showed National Mandate. One of the prints was exhibited in the Kansas City Art Institute Crossroads Gallery, which was really a beautiful space, and that's it hanging there during that opening. Which again is very tied to the funding that I received from the grant, because it allowed me to finalize these prints so that they were something you could exhibit along with the video, which was also shown. The last step that I did with this project was I created these screen prints that are an homage to some of the things I was thinking about with the project. And during my opening at the UIMC, I also had the Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America group there, and they were handing out information. I've become more active with them. I printed these prints and then sold them at the University of Illinois print sale not long ago, and raised $134 that will then go to that group, the Urbana Moms Demand Action group. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, can you hang on just a second? Anyone want to have comments or questions?
I wasn't clear. Was the Moms Demand Action visual, was that your creation, or that was
Yes, yeah, sorry.
Yours?
That the print of the gun there, that was
Yeah.
I made that screen print. And I'm happy to donate if you guys want one as part of the record. I realized I didn't include one with my final report, but I certainly could. Yeah, it's a screen print.
That's very striking.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Ever thought of T-shirts?
Yeah, they could certainly be T-shirts. They're screen prints, so they're easy to make into shirts. Yeah, it's a good idea. They might like that a lot. Yeah.
Anyone else have comments or questions? Okay, well, thanks very much.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, our next screen presentation will be from Matt Jacklin.
Where is it, Morgan? Is this the one? This is, I think, Gwen's. There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, let's bring full screen. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks so much for funding this grant. This has been a really wonderful project for me to do, and I'm very grateful, very appreciative for it. What I did today was put together a few videos and a slide presentation to kind of show you a little bit about the project. It took about a year to put together and execute. The main centerpiece sort of my project centers around this instrument that you see in front of you, which is called a jeel. It's an African xylophone that's native to Ghana. And most of my grant funding was to study with and bring in this artist that you'll meet here in a second in the video. His name's Bernard Woma. He's he is the foremost performer on this instrument in the world. And so it was a great treat to work with him. And actually, our first performance that we did in the grant, there was a communications major, I think, at University of Illinois that came in and did a just project for his class. And so I thought this would be a great way to give you a little bit of background about Bernard. This is his video, and then it'll just move on with a slideshow that I put together that I'll kind of tell you more about as it goes.
My name is Bernard Woma, and I'm the director of the Dagara Music Center and also the artistic director of a dance company that I run called Sankomo Dance Troupe. I'm here to share the music, the Dagara music, a music that I was born to play. I am a Dagara from northern Ghana in a town called Hineteng. The instrument is called jeel, and in English you guys call it xylophone. But the traditional name of the instrument is jeel, G-Y-I-L. I've been born to play the jeel. I came out of my mother's womb like this, and that was a sign I'll be a jeel player. So I've been playing the jeel since I was 2 years old. I also play other African Ghanaian drumming because I work with the National Dance Company of Ghana. as the master drummer for 10 years, and I got a chance to perform for people such as Bill Clinton, Queen Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela. When Obama came to Ghana in 2009, I was the cultural ambassador who represent the Obama children. I taught them jil, taught them drumming, taught them Ghanaian culture. I'm performing music. I'm in my 50s and I don't sometimes willing to disclose my age. It has nothing to do with my musical career. I always tell people I'm 240 years old. Yeah. As a musician, you don't choose favorites. If you love your work, you love every aspect of it. So whether I'm playing jil or I'm playing drumming or I'm singing or I'm teaching dancing, that is what I want to share, like I'm sharing this information with you.
So that was Bernard, and he came, and that performance was on May 1st. It was at the Urbana Free Library. That was the first sort of presentation that we had. Man, it was just a wonderful joy to play with him and get and share music with him. It's really well attended, probably about 60, 70 people in the audience, and I thought that was a great turnout for. We did it in a little cafe space in the Urbana Free Library, which was a joy to kind of have an intimate space with that. I studied with him over a course of this project, and we worked. We've been studying together for about 3 years, but I used some of the grant funding to do some lessons with him. He shared the culture he was here, which was a big goal of mine for the project, was to really teach the people that were in attendance in the community about the instrument, the culture, and the lyrics. And so he shared a lot of that, and I did in my other performances. There was a lot of percussion important people in the audience. William Mersch on the right there is the University of Illinois professor. Rocky Moffett is a freelancer, and then back in the back, looking away in that picture, is the professor at Eastern Illinois. His name's Jamie Ryan. One of the aldermen was there. This cute little girl was there. She was pretty important, pretty special. And actually, after the performance, this was a cool moment. Everybody was just welcome to come up and try the instruments and ask questions. Bernard was really giving of his time, and I answered a lot of questions too. This is a grad student at U of I too. And it became this sort of hands-on sort of session. It was really, really productive. And Carol Inskeep at the Urbana Free Library, big thanks to her. She was instrumental in putting this all together. Another part of my project that I did was a lecture and clinic that I gave at the University of Illinois. I was invited to come into their weekly percussion studio class, which is where all the percussionists get together and basically learn different skills and techniques. Well, I was a featured artist for one of them, and was able to share this with them. I actually brought 3 other jil to the presentation, and everybody got up and we played. I taught them some of the music, and it was open to the public too. And probably my favorite event for this project was we actually performed at the World Fest, which is an annual world music festival at Spurlock Museum. Kim Sheehan coordinates that, and Jason Finkelman, I got to give a big thanks to him. He's at the Center of World Music. He was instrumental in putting all of that together. So that was really a cool thing for my students and I to play. I'm the professor at Olivet Nazarene University, and so these are my students and me playing. So I thought I'd just finish my part of the presentation with a little taste of what the music sounds like. This is a little 2-minute clip of us performing our first piece at the World Fest. Yeah, so my presentation or my grant focused on those three performances, and it was a really valuable thing for me and my development in this art form. I play a lot of different instruments. I have degrees in percussion, and I'm a percussion professor. But it's exciting for me to jump into the world music or ethnomusicological scene, as we would call it, and be able to study with Bernard, and then share that with my students, and also share it with the Urbana community. So I thought the project turned out really well, and I really thank you for the funding. It was a very meaningful project for me.
Great. Does anybody have comments or questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Are those yours, Gilles, or are they the school's?
One of them is my personal one, and then Olivet, the school that I teach at up in Bourbonnais, we own 3 other ones that the students perform on. It's a class, it's a weekly class that I teach, and they perform, and then we also go around to different places in our community up in Bourbonnais and do lots of different activities.
Thanks.
I will say that I attended this performance because we had a multiple event at the IMC that very night, and so some of the pictures that he showed were pictures that I took with my cell phone. I'm glad to see they turned out okay.
Yeah, thank you.
But there was a lot of energy in the room, and there were people dancing the whole time during their presentation. You could tell they really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and the World Fest was quite a bit like that too. Not quite the event for dancing, but boy, just a really positive audience response, and big success with that too.
Great. Well, thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for having me.
Thanks for coming down.
Okay, next we're going to have the monthly progress report.
Hello. Okay. So, the Public Arts Program received a grant for summer youth employment in the arts by the Illinois Art Council Agency. This grant will support a high school student summer intern whose role will be to provide general administrative support to Urbana's existing art programming, marketing, and assist with events. Rusty Clevenger's Artist of the Corridor features the 3rd grade students at Dr. Preston L. Williams Jr. Elementary School. The public opening reception was held Friday, April 28th from 5 to 6:30, in which Rusty had a hat or crown making table stationed up outside, and then they looped the videos that the children performed in the fashion show inside the council chambers. It's very, very cute. Art Now. This month's Art Now features the collaborative program Open Scene by the City of Urbana and the Urbana-Champaign Independent Media Center. This episode is currently up on YouTube. The Urbana web-based downloadable sculpture guide is still available for download at the city website, and there are still quite a number of postcard-sized flyers too. So if you guys are interested in those, I have plenty. The city held a reception on Friday, April 21st, for the 2017 recipients of the Urbana Arts Grant. It was held at Pizza M. It was a nice turnout. All 4 artists have held weekend intensives at the IMC with youth and young adult participants. These events included beat making with Derek Lindsay, storytelling with Andrea Perkins, hip hop with Mother Nature, and theater with Hillel Waters and Lisa Faye. The final workshop, combined with a silent auction, featured artwork by Langston Alston, was held this past Saturday, which also had a pretty nice turnout as well. Kicking off the beautiful weather and the art at the market season is an art workshop by the Idea Store with musical performances by Vern and Vern. That'll be this Saturday, May 13th. Workshops and performances will take place every second Saturday on the following dates for the remainder of the art at the market season. The full summer schedule can be found online at urbanaillinois.us/art workshops. As for marketing, the program's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts now have 1,422 page likes, 1,911 followers, and 466 Instagram followers. And then this is the art now that's currently up on Smile Politely, featuring Open Scene. The city's Public Service Commission has approved the 27 candidates for further consideration in the hiring process, and that is still progressing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
So have you chosen the high school student who's going to be the intern for this summer?
Not yet.
No, we'll start the announcement this week or next, probably. And any advice on how to get the word out effectively to students would be appreciated.
Okay. Now or later?
Whatever's more convenient, you know.
For Urbana
If you wanna
students,
get-
though. Yeah?
Actually, I don't think it has to be an Urbana student per the grant. But we should look into that, though. That's an excellent question.
I think that as a matter of form, if you have suggestions now, making them in the public meeting is good. That is ultimate in transparency.
So the best thing to do is to contact the art teachers at the high school, but also to ask the got to get her name in my head. Okay, to ask the principal secretary, whose name is C, like the letters C, Campbell, and ask her to put an announcement into the daily announcements. This week's a little bit awkward because this is AP testing, so the teachers are reading the announcements in class, or at least that's the intent. And that would be a good thing because our kids, a lot of the upper class kids, don't have room in their schedules to be able to take an art class, so the teachers may not actually have access to them. And also, is it restricted to kids who are going to be in high school next year, or can kids who just graduated apply?
Yeah, if you just graduated, you can apply so long
Okay.
as you have not yet started college.
Okay.
Go ahead, Barb.
I have a suggestion too. Does the Echo still exist?
It does.
It's
It's
the high school newspaper.
Yeah.
At least it used to be.
And the person that you want to, I can see her face. Under pressure, names just escape me.
Okay.
We
All
can
of us.
talk.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
The woman in charge of the Echo, if you send me an email, I will forward it on to her, whose name I totally forgotten at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Eric.
So I would say that while the conditions of the grant don't mandate that it be an Urbana high school student, I think that it would be a good idea to focus the outreach to Urbana. But, I mean, also consider students who are coming from elsewhere, but I think we should emphasize the outreach to Urbana schools.
Would
Go ahead,
that,
Barb.
would that also include homeschoolers? Elizabeth Nickel, I know, is very involved with the homeschools group in the city of Urbana. I don't know, but is it for public school? I don't know
I'm
the
not- I'm not
qualifications
entirely
behind
sure.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I'd have
Just
to
a
look
thought.
into that.
It might be a way of expanding your outreach if that's an area you could focus on.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
So being the designated person sensitive to these issues, homeschool, I think homeschool is fine as long as these are people who pay taxes in Urbana.
Good point.
The Echo lady, her name is Felicia Tufano, Tufano. I knew I could come up with it.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this point, are we ready to start on the program plan?
Yes, and just to be clear, this is a action item, which the commission doesn't have a lot of those, so the commission has a responsibility to recommend the program plan for the year. So you will be asked to vote on this document at the end. And I've included the last page, and I apologize for it not being included prior, which is the program expenditures for the year. And we'll talk more about that when we get to that part of the presentation. So. What's that? Do you want? Are you ready to start going over it, or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you got that.
Okay, so some general notes. The Urbana Public Arts Program, established in 2008 to foster a city where all residents, emerging artists, established artists, and non-artists alike can emerge in the arts, and where artists can thrive and feel valued. Some of the general goals and objectives. The goals for the Public Arts Program, based upon goals and objectives listed in the ordinance establishing the Public Arts Commission and Program, the Public Arts Program 2009 Community Input Report, the Public Arts Commission's 2012 to 2017 5-year plan, and the 2012 Urbana City Council and Mayor's goals. I'm going to skip over.
Yeah, we don't necessarily need to go through all of the 5-year plan goals, but they were there, and these were also included in the document as well. And just one thing to note that, you know, as we discussed during strategic planning this year, that next year when the new public arts coordinator starts would be a good time to reassess about the Commission's longer-term goals for the program.
These are some of the partnerships that we have. And then this is a list of the programs by the Public Arts Program. The Arts Grant, Boneyard Creek, Murals on Glass, the Urbana Sculpture Project, Art and Performance at the Market, Arts in the Schools, Artists of the Corridor, Art Now, and the annual Urbana Art Expo.
I just have a quick question. Did the artists performing at the Urbana Market on the Square for this summer, was that decided on last fall? Or was that part of the 17-18 schedule? Like
I'm sorry?
number 5 here, art and performance at the market, is that going to be for this summer? The
Yeah.
one we're currently in, or the one
Yeah.
for next summer?
This one, right?
This summer.
This
It
summer?
actually
Right,
yeah.
straddles 2 fiscal years.
Because it goes from May until November.
Right. I just
Yeah.
didn't remember us really talking about this summer. Maybe I missed
We
it.
didn't.
We
We
oh,
don't.
No,
Well,
don't.
the commission does not typically schedule artists, but the commission oversees the programs and their
Right.
general delivery.
Right. Okay, I just didn't know which year that was for.
Although you could make suggestions to the coordinator.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, and we'll go through each of these programs one at a time and talk about them here.
So the first one is the Urbana Arts Grant Program.
Well,
Newman.
you're all very familiar with the Urbana Arts Grants Program. This past year, we were able to award an additional $1,000 thanks to the generous support of Katie Leon Harrell and, remind me of the full name of the,
Center for Latino and Caribbean Studies.
yeah, thank you,
Mhm.
Morgan. And so with that support, we were able to increase the total amount. However, we've maintained the same level of grant awards over the last several years, and the proposal is to maintain that at the same level as prior. Now, this is where the fiscal year gets a little tricky again, because we just awarded, right, but the majority of the expenditures are actually for a given grant cycle gets split between 2 fiscal years. So the expected budget for next year will be higher, but that doesn't mean that we will be in a position to offer more grant, or a larger amount of grant awards next year when we actually do the call. So, sorry, the fiscal year, program year doesn't line up for us, and so sometimes you'll see discrepancies in that way, but we did try to account for that. So the additional funds were actually all awarded in the past cycle, and we would be we would need to identify other donors to increase the grant cycle next year. Any questions or suggestions on how that program operates?
The only thought that I have, I'm looking at budget, thinking about budget justification. We have lots of participation from people who are employed by the university, by public schools. Basically, when those people get a grant and they don't get personal dollars out of it, so they have made a contribution in kind. And I think that's a point worth making. We actually do motivate people at the university, people at the school, to do art, to bring art to the community in general. And we provide some money, but they contribute substantially in kind. I don't know if it's feasible to make an estimate of the dollar value of that, but it's not insignificant. And what I'm mindful of is, the budget discussions that we're about to have on council.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's appropriate to say that our first look at the mayor's proposed budget is going to be in the packet. It will be posted online on Thursday as part of the council packet. And I have no advance knowledge of how this particular budget item will compare with what we're requesting. What I do know is that it's going to be a very tough budget year, because largely because of things outside of our control. Our sales tax and gasoline tax revenues are coming in below expectations. This is happening in Champaign too, and I think it's a pass-through or a ripple effect from the decline in the state support of the university, because that's our big economic driver. So I think that we really have to think about, well, we'll see on Thursday what the mayor is thinking. And then it will be up to the council over the next month, with maybe final decision on the budget slated for June 19th, to decide, what that dollar amount is actually going to be. I think that for people who are supporters of public arts, that it would be a really good idea to have as many expressions of support directed at the council and the mayor over the next month as possible. Could be in the form of emails, could be in the form of people coming to public participation at council meetings, but it's, I believe in it. I believe that every great city, whether it's a large city or a small city such as Urbana, supports public art significantly, and that it's part of what makes the city great, both a reflection and a cause of the greatness. But I think this year that case may need to be made with unusual level of vigor.
You bring up a question.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I was just curious, have we looked back? I know we have all these individual grant segments that people can apply for, but have we done a demographic about how many are university people, how much is the community percentages? It would be a ton of work, I would imagine.
Yeah,
but
we don't
I'm just
track that
curious.
data.
It would be interesting to see, what the results are, though, maybe.
I would think, just off the top of my head, that there are some university people, but I would say actually more are coming from the community than from the university.
Yeah, I kind of get that sense, but it's a nice combination that that both are participating and,
Oh, yeah.
and enhancing the community. But I was just curious if you had done any kind of demographics on it.
No, sorry.
It's okay. Just tap it.
It is.
It's not so much you can get done, I
It
realize.
is important to note, though, that the fiscal concerns that Erica's describing are limited to the general fund, and that public arts, its programming operates out of its own fund as well as TIF funds. So the general fund contribution to the public arts program on an annual basis is only $15,000 total. So all other money in our budget, and to be clear, the program expenditures that we'll discuss in this program plan and in the budget in the back do not even include staff salaries as well. So to be clear, the general fund contribution is somewhere around 10% of the total public arts program. Should we go on to the next program?
The next program is the Boneyard Creek Public Arts Activities. This usually held in April of the following year. It's held at the Boneyard Creek as part of 40 North's Boneyard Arts Festival. The event includes performances, art activities for all ages, food trucks, etc. Ready. Next one.
Oh, sure.
Joey.
Murals on Glass is a biannual program, and as such, the funding years alternate. So we're proposing the same amount spent in 15-16, 3,000. We had a good discussion at the last meeting. The plan at present is to move forward with the Phillips Recreation Center display. However, we do not yet have confirmation whether or not we'll be able to move forward with a display here at the City Building, but we're still pursuing that. And we believe we could accomplish both those under the given budget.
The Urbana Sculpture Project. Last year in the fourth cycle of the initiative, Horse and the Hound, Three Red Houses, Monolith, A New Leaf, and Keep It Together were added to the Urbana community.
Staying with sculptures for a moment, we should also acknowledge the contribution by Jack and Ginny Walder that allowed us to purchase the Stranger Reduction Zone, I believe during that same time frame.
It was, yeah.
Mhm.
And for those of you that don't know her, she was a member of this commission.
Next up is Art at the Market, which this year will be May 13th, June 10th, July 8th, August 12th, September 9th, and October 14th, which usually has a workshop or a live performance held during the Market at the Square every second Saturday. Okay, and then Arts in the Schools. In the last fiscal year, a total of $3,000 was awarded to the Capoeira Angelo Center, Illinois, for $1,000, and then Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary for $2,000. The fifth cycle of the Arts in the Schools will have a similar process. Artists of the Corridor, which provides an exhibition space and marketing support for the Urbana artists in the city building lobby, as well as the Urbana Free Library.
Yeah, I was going to mention that you didn't mention the library in this written report. You might want to add that,
That's a great comment.
because that is new.
That was added in the last program year.
Right.
Can I mention something, speaking of the library?
Yeah.
One of the recent grant recipients, Ann Newman, is going to present a program, Music and Marionettes, at the Urbana Free Library on June 2nd
Oh,
at 6:30 p.m.
Art Now, a monthly TV series featuring different artists. These are some of the last few. All episodes are archived on online, and they also are shown on UPTV Channel 6.
yeah, they're on YouTube too, right?
I'm
They're on
sorry?
YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, they play on YouTube. So.
The annual Art Expo. This will be the third cycle of that one. Last year, the Art Expo had 19 local artists, and it generated over $5,000 in sales in about 7 hours.
And this, as a newer program, stands out in that it covers its own direct expenses.
Yeah, I was pleased to see that.
And we, we had estimated for this past cycle that we would raise the $1,500 required to put the event on, and as you can see in the notes, we raised $1,600, so that goal was exceeded. The vision has not been such that this is explicitly a fundraiser for the arts programming, but it is important that we develop opportunities to earn revenue in the process of administering and offering these kinds of programs and services. So this one is a good example of that.
Well, I thought it was a good use of the space too, because we were trying in the last year or two to bring more visibility to the Civic Center and
Absolutely, yeah.
have more activities.
And this last year was more of a success
Yeah.
than the first, so hopefully we can continue to build upon that.
Yeah, and maybe we can have two days next time.
Right, that
Yeah.
is the goal.
Yeah.
Well, and hopefully with a successful event, then other people will get ideas about coming there and want to use the space. I think it sometimes gets hidden and people don't realize there's an opportunity there that they overlook. Oh.
That is true.
Okay. As for marketing, these are a few ads, and then we use MailChimp, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., to promote all of the different programs year-round.
I'll take this one. In fundraising, we had strong success in the past year. We've already mentioned all the major donors over the course of the presentation, as well as the raised revenue through the Art Expo. But it's important to recognize that, as Eric was explaining earlier, that opportunities for growth financially of this program will largely, I think, be up to the arts program itself to find new revenue sources in the future to grow it, at least in the short term, especially as the city is facing some more, some leaner times perhaps. Of course, we were highly successful with the National Endowment for the Arts grant, but that is a one-time expense, and I intentionally excluded it from the the program picture that we're trying to paint here, because it's not something that we can really integrate or sustain in any way once that that grant cycle passes. Likewise, the $1,800 youth employment grant that Morgan mentioned earlier in the staff report, the council will actually take action on Monday to receive that grant, and then there will be a subsequent budget amendment. So that actually will get added on to this year's program, and then what happens is again, that'll straddle 2 fiscal years. So that position gets added sort of at the tail end of the current year, and then it will be sort of automatically pushed forward. So it's not necessary that we include that in this report, I guess. It's not part of the direct request to council, because it's come to council separately.
Okay.
So.
And then these are the sources of supplemental income, grants, earned revenue, and then donations.
Mm-hmm.
And these are 3 other donations we received last fiscal year.
You know, and I do realize we are missing something here. We are missing our Illinois Arts Council agency general grant we received this year.
Oh, yeah. You wanna have
So
that.
we need to get that added in as well.
Did we actually get the money?
I believe
'Cause
so.
So
yeah.
many groups were awarded money and then haven't received it yet.
Well, that's something I'll need to look into specifically then.
Yeah, there's a
so.
lot of area not-for-profits that are hopeful and waiting still.
Okay. Well, we were awarded something, so.
Yeah, they received notice they were awarded, but they have not received the funds.
Well, they serve poor people. We're in better shape.
So, and just as a matter of course, we do not budget or anticipate increased revenues. We're not dependent on increased revenues to maintain the effectively status quo programs that we're describing here. And then that last page that I handed out shows that in numbers, and you'll see that the only differences in the budget for the coming year, I think there's 3. One is the Urbana Arts Program expenditure has been increased by $1,000, and that's to reflect the $1,000 of donations we received this year. But we'll actually just budget it for next year. We are funding the Murals on Glass program and zeroing out the sculpture project because it's biannual, so they switch off year upon year. And so there's a reduction overall when it's a Murals on Glass year as opposed to a sculpture year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, I guess that is it.
Yeah, looks like 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yeah, we're really just trying to kind of toe the line and keep it simple for the time being, and then allow our new public arts coordinator to get involved and engage with this commission to set a course for the future. So, any
Go ahead, Bob.
questions?
Can you make any projections? Maybe that's just asking you to be a fortune teller about the TIF district that we rely upon so much for
Mhm.
funding. How is the business community there? Is it strong? You think we're at any of the businesses at risk, or they're doing pretty well?
We have a very, I think we have a lot of exciting prospects on the near horizon for downtown projects and development.
Super.
So we recently created a new TIF district, and that's normally I would have preferred to have also provided the commission with a picture of the revenue side,
Mhm.
although that isn't really a requirement of what you're submitting to council. As I mentioned and alluded to before, the program is in reality more complicated than the representation here, because the program is actually spread out over multiple funds. 2 TIF funds, our own public arts fund, there's a general fund contribution, and the other thing we have going on is that when we receive gifts through the community foundation as well, and then we have to actually request those revenues to come in. So we actually have funds in another new place now.
Mhm.
When we created the new downtown TIF, we call it the Central TIF, we actually sunsetted and closed out TIF 1, the oldest TIF that the city had. And so that district went away, another was created, and we heavily modified what was TIF 2. So in essence, having a new central TIF for the downtown ensures that there will be TIF funds available for programs and projects in the downtown area for some time to come. So, you know, the long-term outlook is very good, and we continue to see activity and occupancy on the rise downtown. We have a number of projects that will hopefully be completed this year, including a new brewery downtown, Broadway Market, which would be an indoor, you know, eatery market, or food hall, I think is the appropriate term. And actually, there's a nightclub that's under construction right now as well that will regularly feature music because it is a collaboration between the owner of Crane Alley and some of the owners of the Canopy Club. So hopefully each of these new businesses will also present opportunities for artists to, you know, display their works or perform and ideally be partners in events like the Boneyard Arts Festival. So, you know, from that perspective, I think the outlook is very good. Of course, we always want to keep striving for bigger and bigger things. So hopefully we'll have some major new projects in the next year that we can announce.
Great, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions?
Have we covered everything, or did you want to go on to the intern, or have we covered that?
Go on to the intern. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't speak specifically about the arts intern.
Yeah.
The program, I mean, we're recommending the same baseline as we have for prior years, and we're very fortunate that Morgan has agreed and has been serving as not only our public arts intern, but also the open scene intern under the NEA grant, which is why we've been able to enjoy a lot more of Morgan's time. And in addition, we've utilized salary savings from the public arts coordinator position to keep him going as well. So Morgan's been a super intern for us in
Yes,
more
thank
than
you,
one
Morgan.
sense. Yeah.
Hey.
Take a bow.
So yeah, eventually we'll kind of return back to the typical intern cycle. So, but thank you, Morgan. Do you want to talk about your plans at all to the group, or you're still?
I'm hoping to spend and enjoy my time working as the intern as much as possible, at least until the end of summer. That's about all I have planned so far.
Okay. Any other questions?
Are we ready to bring this to a vote then?
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll move approval of the plan, if that's in order.
Do we have to second that?
Yes.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, you. I'll fight you for it. Yeah, I'll second it. Okay, all in favor of approving the plan, say aye.
Aye.
I wonder if we should have a roll call vote, since this is money. We don't
Well,
have-
it's just an advisory.
Just
vote,
advisory?
but
Okay.
Suki, do you know if have we done that in the past?
I don't
No,
believe so.
I don't think so.
I can't
Okay.
remember
I don't
ever
recall.
having done it.
Okay, aye.
Okay. All right, unanimously
unanimous.
approved?
Yeah, the commission doesn't have direct authority to approve the expenditures, but your advisement will be communicated to the council on the 22nd when we give a presentation on the program to the body. So, yes, with Morgan.
Nothing can possibly go wrong.
Famous last words. Okay, I'll give him that. Did anybody have any announcements they wanted to make? Okay, in that case, I move we adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.